What is up, and welcome back to the Sticky Art channel. If you're new here, my name is Justin, and in this video I'm going to be doing a side-by-side comparison of the Samsung Galaxy Tab S6 Lite versus the 2020 Apple iPad Pro. Now you might be asking yourself, why are you literally comparing apples to Galaxies? And the reason why I want to do this is because I wanted to compare the top of the line from Apple Pro model versus a budget option from Samsung and find out if a $350 tablet is good enough for artists. Since I am going to be going over a lot of differences in this video, I will make sure to timestamp all the main differences in the video description below, as well as provide links to all the products that are in this video. If you do want to do further research, check out reviews, as well as current pricing, you can do that there. Starting off with the most obvious difference is going to be the price. The Samsung S Lite comes in at $350 retail, versus the 2020 iPad Pro 12.9 64GB, which is the base model, is $999. So the first thing that is going to be different with the Samsung Galaxy is that included in the box is a S Pen, as well as a portfolio style case, and the tablet just slides right in there and is magnetic. This adds some protection, especially if you plan on taking it with you on the go, and a good place to put the S Pen. The S Pen is not a battery operated pen and does not need to charge, so it does just go into the case just like that. On the other hand, the Apple Pencil 2 has to be docked on the side of the iPad Pro to charge. It takes about 15 to 20 minutes to get a full charge that lasts about 8 to 9 hours, and is not included in the price of the iPad Pro. It is an additional $129. One thing that I found interesting was on the Samsung, you do get a USB-C to USB cable, which does make the charge time a little bit longer at around 3 hours versus the Apple iPad Pro, which charges in 2.5 hours, and it's a USB-C to USB-C cable. I found the battery on the Galaxy S6 to last around 6 hours when drawing on it straight. You do get a little bit more time if you're using it for mix, if you're just watching things, but drawing programs do use a little bit more battery, and this was in indoor conditions. And I found in the same indoor conditions, the iPad Pro lasted closer to around 9 hours. Both of these get a little bit more if you're doing mixed things, but if you do take it outdoors, it is going to last considerably less just because this backlight is going to be on max. On the Galaxy Tab S6 Lite, you get dual speakers, so you've got 2 speakers total versus the iPad Pro that has 4 speakers set up. And with that, you're going to get a lot fuller body sound from the iPad Pro, listening to music and watching movies, versus the S6 is a little bit more tinny and not the full cinematic experience if you're watching a lot of movies on it. That being said, it still is very loud and clear, it just is not as full-bodied. On the front, you're going to get a front-facing camera that is 5 megapixels on the S6, and on the iPad Pro is a 7 megapixel. The front-facing cameras on both of these do a great job for online video chatting, such as Zoom or FaceTime. So the other thing that is going to be different is the aspect ratio on these two. The S6 is a lot more narrow, whereas the iPad is more like a piece of paper of the actual usable space, but you do lose on the bars as far as your usable space when you're watching 1080p movies. So on the iPad Pro, it cuts down to 11 3/4 on a 12.9 screen versus on a 10.4 screen that cuts down to 10 1/4. So you're only losing a little bit. You don't get those big bars. Other than that, you can tell on the iPad it is a matte screen. This is actually a paper-like film screen protector. It's not necessarily a protector, but more so a paper-like feel. It is really nice. I do have a review of that on another video. If you want to check that out, I'll put a link of that above here. Other than that, the actual pixels on the screen, you're getting a 2000 by 1200, which is really nice on the small screen and looks great for 1080p. And with the shiny gloss is a really nice looking screen on the S6. And on the Apple iPad Pro, you do get the ability to view 4K content, which is really nice on the screen as well. On the back, you are going to get an 8 megapixel camera on the Samsung, and that is pretty much it for what is on the outside. On the edges, you will see there's a mic there and an auxiliary plug-in or a headphone jack, which is nice that they do still include that. That is something you will not see on the Apple iPad. Pretty much all the newer and current lineup of Apple iPads do not include an auxiliary or headphone jack anymore. If you do have a headphone jack that you need to use, you can get a converter cable that goes from USB-C or Lightning to the auxiliary, but you will need an additional adapter. One thing that is really nice on Android products is they do give you the ability to upgrade the internal hard drive. They do give you this little key or pin, and you can upgrade using a micro SD card. The iPad Pro is also going to have a lot nicer built-in microphones. It has dual microphones that are capable of recording stereo. On the side of the volume is where the Apple Pencil docks. There's only one side where it actually charges, the other side it will not charge. On the back of the Apple iPad Pro is a dual camera system. Got a 12 megapixel as well as a 10 megapixel camera, both capable of shooting 4K at 60 frames per second. This is great for shooting film on the back camera, as well as there is a dock for a keyboard. If you want to use this as an actual laptop replacement, you can get a nice keyboard that will dock versus the S6 that uses a Bluetooth connection if you were to buy an additional Bluetooth keyboard, which uses more battery and also is not as reliable. So getting into the actual programs and difference between the Android operating system versus the iOS operating system. One of the key differences is just going to be the programs available. So I'm using an app called Artflow. So to test out the Samsung S6 Tab Lite, I went ahead and made a larger print file, 5000 by 5000 pixels, 300 dpi. This is about a 16 by 16 print file. And zooming in and out, there were no issues. I also did not have any issues throughout the rest of my drawing experience, which is really good to see. The main differences you are going to see with the less amount of RAM in this versus the Apple iPad is just the amount of layers that you're going to be able to do. And depending on the apps, it will also change how efficiently they can do this. So different apps might work differently. And Artflow seemed like it worked really well. I didn't have any issues doing my drawing. So the other thing that I was really impressed with the Samsung S6 was the S Pen that is included. Considering it is a non-battery operated pen, it has a really nice feel to it, and it's mainly due to the silicone or rubberized nib. It feels, I would put it similar to an alcohol-based marker like a Copic brush tip nib if you've ever used that, or a really firm actual painting brush. With that being said, it is not as accurate as the Apple Pen, but it does a really good job. And it would be in comparison to using an actual brush versus using a pencil and the accuracy that you get there. So with that in mind, it does do a great job, and it took very little time for me to get used to. Coming from a traditional art into digital, it seemed like it was a lot easier actually to transfer than the Apple Pencil. I found that the Apple Pencil, especially on the glass, is very smooth, and I was having a hard time getting kind of smooth lines. That was one of the main reasons why I did install a paperlike on the iPad, which on the S6, on the other hand, I didn't have to install a matte screen protector. The feel that you get right out of the box with the silicone nib is great, in my opinion. And there are also some options to upgrade the pen if you do decide to. As far as input lag, there is a slight input lag or delay with the S6 that is somewhat noticeable, even if you're just looking real close and writing fast. This does not really cause any problems, and it still is accurate. It just does not show up on the screen right as you're writing it, or as fast as the Apple iPad Pro. This is definitely not a huge problem, but it is going to be attributed to having the faster refresh on the iPad Pro, as well as more RAM. On the iPad Pro, you have 6 gigabytes versus the S6 Lite, you're going to have 4 gigabytes of RAM. So for the last test, I'm going to do a side-by-side digital painting demo and really put these two to the test. I decided to do the same skull image on both of these. And you'll notice on the left is the Samsung S6 Tab Lite versus the Procreate. I have a time lapse on the right hand side that was pre-recorded in Procreate, which is a really nice feature to Procreate that you can do automatically. This feature is available on the Artflow. However, you do have to choose to do that before, versus in Procreate, pretty much every single image that you draw in there, you can do a time lapse afterwards as long as you have that feature turned on. So that being said, I am a lot more used to Procreate, and there's also some brushes that allow me to do some really cool effects really fast, such as the flames, as well as some of the textures. And I feel like it is a much more streamlined program. I do prefer Procreate over Artflow. However, Artflow is a great drawing app, and there are other apps out there for the Android as well as the iPad. In conclusion, I would say the Samsung Galaxy Tab is a great option for beginner artists or somebody that's looking to get into digital art. Definitely keep in mind that there are going to be different options out there that go upwards, and the increased RAM and different things are really going to give you more layers and different things. So depending on what you need and your needs for the tablet, there is definitely some great options out there, and prices have come down considerably from what they used to be. It used to be to get a decent tablet, it was all in one, it was at minimum $1,000, and we're now already seeing for $350 and sometimes on sale for even less. You get everything included with the Samsung Tab that works great. So if you do have any questions, let me know in the comments below. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, hit the thumbs up button, as well as hit the subscribe and notification bell if you want to see more videos from me. And until next time, peace.